Welcome to Crosstown Cardboard, episode 32, with my great friend Craig at New York City Sports Cards, the math teacher and soccer coach, originally from on Long Island, now in New York City. He's doing the Jalen Brunson impression, and I am Carmine at Carmine's Cards, the sports and news broadcaster, originally from Westchester County, New York, Ossining, home of Sing Sing Prison. And now I'm across the country in Southern Oregon. And Craig, we're pretty excited for this episode because it's something that really all of our card collecting revolves around when we think about it in a big picture. The title of episode 32 is Life Skills Learned Through Sports Cards. And we're going to kind of touch upon some things we've talked about in our 31 previous episodes. But this is like new stuff that we're really honing in on as far as how our card collecting affects our life skills and how our life skills in turn affect our card collecting. So before we get into that, I just wanted to give a huge thanks to Shay at Shayway Vlogs. Awesome interview and incredible story from him in our last episode. If you haven't listened to that, definitely tune in. All the way from Bangladesh to Queens, New York, to collecting one of the best soccer collections in the entire world with Ronaldo, Messi, one of ones. And also a quick thanks to Greg at Cardboard Insights on Instagram for just voluntarily making us a new logo, which hopefully you guys out there are enjoying, with the Knicks colors, the Mets colors, the Islanders colors, the blue and orange, and I think revamping our brand, making it cooler. And the fact that he was a listener just giving us a gift is super cool. So big thanks to Greg. And Craig, I want to ask you, how are you doing? And what do you think about our topic here?
I am feeling good. Thank you for asking. I'm very excited about this topic because when I think about our 30 now 2 episodes, there's one that really sticks out to me as being like, if there's one you're going to listen to, let it be this one. And I have a feeling you would be in agreement. The Mount Rushmore of
Yep.
what you look for in a card, and I think this one has the potential to be as significant
Ooh, okay.
because this is a topic that, in different ways, I'm sure has been discussed. But I consume a lot of content, and I can't remember a conversation specifically how sports cards correlates to real life skills. And I'm thinking it in the lens of a teacher. I'm thinking about the kids that I work with, but it applies for everybody. So I'm excited to get into this. I love the episodes when basically you and I have back and forth ideas. So I think that's what this is going to be like. And oof, it was a fun day in the hobby for me. I don't know if you want to get into that now or after.
Oh, let's get into it right now.
Okay. So I've been like slowing down on the buying a little bit. Just a busy time of year for me between
Mhm.
teaching, coaching, and all that good stuff. But obviously, I'm always in tune with the hobby, talking to people.
Yes.
And then suddenly, today, literally within 10 minutes of each other, I made two big deals.
Yeah, let's talk about them.
So the first one I really can't get into because it's actually a gift, and the gift is for a listener of this show. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say on that.
That's very vague, but I think nobody will know what the case is because I know who the gift is for, and you're not giving away anything.
Nothing. Very excited. But just yesterday, I started putting together a list for the national. I always like to go in with an open mind. There's no cards I'm looking for. Whatever catches my eye, maybe I'll like it. But there are a few things that I do have my eye on this year. So I listed three of them yesterday. Just yesterday, I got one of them today. So that one is the gift. Incredible how that worked out. And the way it was able to work out was because Rob, our good buddy Rob, the sports card therapist, posted an Instagram story tagging this account. I had never seen this account before. So I clicked on him. It was Hank's Sports Cards, something along the lines of that. Gave him a follow. He had the exact card I was looking for. We were able to close the
Mhm.
deal in about 20 minutes.
Boom. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the second one, wow. So I got this Brendan Aronson card that we spoke about a couple episodes ago.
Yep.
And full transparency, I'm into this card for $100.
And can you describe that one a little bit more for our
Yeah, wow,
podcasters?
I did really poor podcasting there.
It's okay. We're
Absolutely
more visual. We're more visual number
sure.
one, voice number two.
I just provided a total of 0 imagery there, so my bad. But this is a 2020 Merlin Chrome, Brendan Aronson, who's a player for the U.S. men's national team. The red refractor, numbered 1 out of 10 and a PSA 9.
Yep.
This is the first year Topps Chrome Berlin, which we actually spoke about with Shay last week. I'm into this card for $100. I bought it from my good buddy Adam Schraman. And today, somehow, I pulled off a really obscure trade, and I traded this Brendan Aronson card straight up for a Pele autographed Brazil shirt with the Beckett COA on it. And now I have this Pele autograph shirt for $100, and it's just about as good as a deal as you can get. And that's a jersey that
Wow.
one day I'm going to frame, hang up, but it's not something I'm going to flip. So
Wow.
pretty cool pickups for me today.
That is awesome, bro. That's a man cave centerpiece item for you. How much is the value, do you think, of the Pele?
There had been some sales, and they're pretty consistently selling around 250, maybe a little more.
Okay, so you 2.5 times your money, but you're not going to sell it. But still, you're into that Pele for a 2.5 times discount now.
Exactly. And when you think about it like that, it is a keeper piece for me. But to get a keeper piece and to be into it for a good price, win-win.
Icing on top.
Trading cards for memorabilia.
That's great. And I have one pickup. Actually, I have two pickups, but I'm not going to get into the second one just yet because I feel like we can save that. We have to, leave a little breadcrumbs, a little Hansel and Gretel action for our faithful YouTube and podcast subscribers. And by the way, if you're not subscribed, please do so. Hit that bell notification so you don't miss any Crosstown Cardboard, because we got some good things coming. We already teased 2 different cards that we have coming, and who knows what else is going to come in the near future for us. So I'm going to save my one pickup, which I will talk about, for one of our life skills learned through sports cards. But Craig, why don't you kick us off with the first of your life skills that you've either learned through sports cards or vice versa?
Yeah. So the first life skill I'm going to touch upon is accounting and keeping track of finances.
Okay.
So this is the 2023 is the first calendar year where I have tracked in an Excel sheet every single card that I've purchased, the date I purchased it, where I purchased it, what platform where I was, and then if I sold it, I tracked where I sold it, how much, the location, the form of payment, and the profit, win or loss. So I've been keeping that in an Excel sheet, and it really gives me a good visual to see precisely how much I'm spending, precisely how much I'm selling, if it's profitable. And of every card that I've sold this year, I am up roughly 22%, which I will take that all day. And along
That's
the
good.
lines of that for me, I've been able to pick up a lot of PC cards. So I've really found great joy in organizing all this, being a math teacher, but accounting and keeping track of the finances, knowing what I'm buying, how much, has been a valuable skill for me, and I'm having a lot of fun.
That's great. A life skill and having it be fun. That's an important key too. And that applies right to your everyday life as far as, like you said, budgeting, accounting, knowing where your finances are going and how to balance your books, and the intentionality of, like planning everything and knowing exactly where each of those finances shakes out and how much you're into each card. Because I never made a budget until like a couple years ago, for my life, that is. And I was just like completely baffled that I had gone through, 5-6 years of being the sole financial provider for myself after college and never knowing exactly where each of my dollars are going on a budget. And until I made one, I was like, oh, I'm like breaking even, or, seems like this spending pattern is okay for my bills, my rent, my car. And then I was like, I should have really had a budget to know exactly where everything's going so I can know how much I'm saving, how much to put into retirement, how much you might be able to move over into cards. That's definitely a great life skill.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet most people don't really keep track. It's kind of just a never-ending cycle. So I have one friend I was talking to about this recently, and he's like, "Yeah, for all the cards he sells, he's like, yeah, I've done really well." That's and if you're okay with that, being vague about it and not knowing detail, that's fine. For me, it's been important for me to just get a frame of reference for what I'm spending and where too has been very interesting.
Yeah. And I do the same thing. I think I've showed on our podcast here the sheets of paper that I have. I like to do it by hand because it feels like
Yeah.
a little more nostalgic, writing it down by hand and being in the hobby bunker at my desk and, here's what my cost basis is. Here's what I sold it for. But I'm right there with you on that same page. So my first one, as far as life skills learned through sports cards, is the importance of diversity. And I know that's one of the topics that we really like to talk about, especially because there can be so much more diversity in the sports card hobby, whether that's race, religion, more women in the hobby, things like that. And not just diversity for the sake of diversity, which is great too, but diversity of people or thoughts in your wolf pack. And shout out to our wolf pack, because we got our W's up, which could also be West Coast for me. When you're looking at, if you're just doing the hobby by yourself, that could be great, for you. If you're more of a lone wolf, you like to go at it your own, it's an escape for you. You don't want too much socialization. If that's your cup of tea, go for it. But I think the real development can happen when you have people like we do in our wolf pack with Ken, Tony, Oz. We have Rob, me, you, and Dave, and our Wolfpack page, which, if you guys haven't followed, definitely give that a look. Wolfpack content on Instagram, YouTube, all the podcasts, because we're constantly exchanging ideas and growing because of it. We all have different collecting styles. Oz and Tony have the Philly deal. Rob is with the vintage and higher end, with his LeBron stuff. And Ken and Tony have the Mike Tyson. Dave likes soccer along with you. And there's a bunch of different nuances that each of our fellas gets into. But had we not had them for a diverse group of thought and changing the way some of our thoughts go about our collecting and opening up our avenues to that, maybe we wouldn't have gone certain ways we have. I've looked at vintage a lot more because Rob has rubbed off on me, or I've looked at, unique cards because of the way that, cousin Tony collects his Randall Cunningham and his one of one crazy patches and stuff like that. So, and thought about alternative cards because of Ken and Oz with their Pop Century, and, Oz with the Stranger Things and Ken with his music cards and women's soccer and stuff like that. So, and that reflects into a life skill as well, being able to listen, understand other people's thoughts who don't look like you, or in this case, don't collect like you, and having an open mind to, even if you disagree, just being able to listen to them, absorb what they're saying, and make some judgments based on that, or some decisions based on that. But I thought that was an important one that it's funny you wouldn't really think of until you examine it like we're trying to do, and put out some maybe ways to think about your own hobby and your own life during this episode. But I feel like that was one that I listed first right away.
I like that. And the way I see it tying to cards is, hey, person A might not collect what person B collects, but let's just respect everybody's collecting styles.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone collects their own way. What you may see as a card that you're like, why would that person buy that? You know what? I was talking to Joey D Cards. Here's a perfect example.
Okay.
And he picked up his, who was it? Evan Mobley True Prism Gold. He was very excited about it. And he told me a trade proposal that he was considering for that gold months back. And I'm like, dude, you were seriously going to trade those two cards for this one? Because in my head, I'm like, those values don't make any sense to me. But for him, it was just a card that he really wanted.
Yeah, as a big
Yeah.
Cavs fan, yeah.
As a
Was
huge
that a
Cavs
rookie?
fan.
Was that a rookie, Evan
Yeah.
Mobley?
Yes, from Prism.
Wow, that's a big card.
It is. I guess I underestimated the power of Prism Gold. However, Shea did say last week Panini will be known as the gold era during this time.
Underwhelming series for Evan Mobley though against our Knicks.
Bodied by Julius Randle.
Yeah.
So my second life skill, and this I think about this at card shows, is just at first I said public speaking skills, but I think a better way to phrase it is just communication skills.
Okay.
Me working with students, the girls I coach are 12, 13. and then high school age students I teach at my school, you'd be surprised, for example, how many kids don't make eye contact when they're speaking to you or elaborating and speaking up. So when I think of people at shows, it requires you to be able to just have a conversation with someone, back and forth, explain yourself. And I have a student who was in card club last year, Anthony. He was card club MVP. I saw him at Bleecker last week. He's someone who struggled with public speaking, and he's actually taking a public speaking course in college right now, and it's going well. But for someone who doesn't do well with public speaking, and I remember he would get shy in front of a camera, when he would go to card shows, and I just saw him last week doing this, his ability to speak to people is just natural. So it's like this avenue of cards gives him the opportunity to have conversation with people, and he doesn't look like he's nervous at all. And it's just him
Wow.
making deals, talking cards, buying and selling, and it's all he feels comfortable in that setting doing so.
Yeah. Oh, I never even thought about that, but that's a really good one. And I also think sports cards is a great avenue for that because it's not like you're on a debate team where you're talking about, let's say, for example, like an important political topic or something serious. Like the sports card hobby, we all enjoy it, and there's an understanding of it's fun, it's lighthearted, it's something that we do in our free time, most of us. And so it makes the avenue to talk to somebody, strike up a conversation much easier when you're going in there knowing that it's fun and you have a shared interest in something.
Definitely, yeah. And no, it's good points. What do you have next for me? Number two.
Well, number two for me, Craig, kind of piggybacks off your point as far as life skills learned through sports cards is thinking of others outside of yourself, putting yourself in someone else's shoes to understand where they're coming from. And so if you're making a deal, of course, you have your side. You want to get a lot of times, everybody wants a deal. We said that. I think I clipped it for our little teaser that we post on Instagram. And we're like, everyone wants a deal. Everyone wants a deal. Of course, you want a deal, But at the same time, the other person wants a good deal for them. They don't want to lose money. They don't want to give their card away, especially if you're dealing in cards that you both like. That's going to be somewhere where you have to meet in the middle, compromise, similar to your communication skills. So I was negotiating with my guy, Dave on Instagram, one of the best Magic Johnson collectors I've seen. And I mentioned him in several of our episodes before. And so I was thinking of what do I want from myself for this deal? And we're very close. We're like trying to massage the deal. Of course, he loves Magic, so trying to get a Magic card off of him is not always the easiest, which I understand. But then I'm like, well, maybe let me come a little bit closer to where he's at on the deal because he's giving up a great Magic card, and I want to put myself in his shoes, thinking of, where he's coming from, not just only thinking of my perspective. So we ended up making a deal, if you're watching on the YouTube, for this Magic Johnson flawless 1/1 on-card auto from 2020, 2021. And it has the like blue, ocean blue design to it.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And so, so to get a 1/1 auto, and I traded my signature moves immaculate auto of Magic Johnson, numbered out of 25. And I added on, I think, 750 of cash. And these are going like 11, anywhere between like 11 to 1400, these 1/1 Magic Johnson flawless autos. So I gave him like strong value on it because the last sale on the signature moves immaculate Magic auto, which I traded away, last sold for 480. So I was basically giving him like 1230 of value with mostly cash. And we were struggling around like how much cash to add because I'm trying to get a better deal. The last one was a PSA 8 that sold for 1100. So I'm like, let's get around that value. But then once you add the trade element, you have to consider that too. So I'm like, you know what? I see where he's coming from. Let me come up with cash. I'm going to keep this 1/1 Magic Johnson auto. I've been getting some 1/1s recently. Got the Bo Jackson 1 of 1 flawless auto.
You're a sneaky 1-on-1 guy.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
you are literally one. Just you are a 1-of-1. So
thanks, bro. That's a good that's a good way to be, because you have a unique card right there. That's the only one. And it's nice that it's a set where it's not like the current football guys where you have like 100 or several hundred 1-of-1s across all the products. This is a primo brand, primo player, 1-of-1. So in order to get that deal done, though, this is back to the life skills part. I had to think of where Dave is coming from, which is originally Australia, but I mean his negotiation of where he's coming from. And then we ended up getting it done when we compromised and met in the middle. So, and that's a good part of understanding other people out there, kind of similar to the diversity point, but thinking of where someone else is coming from. Everybody else has something going on in their life, a struggle, a financial concern, a relationship difference, or having a tough day.
or
And so
being underwater on a card.
could be that too. So it ties in there. But yeah, so that's my number 2.
Very nice. That card is very on brand. So I'm glad you got that.
Thanks, bro.
So this one is, sometimes in life, maybe we put too much on our plate, and it feels like we're not able to do everything at our best. Perhaps we are stretching ourselves too thin,
Okay.
and it's important to be cognizant of that. I
Nice.
think similar in sports. Wow, I'm using big vocab tonight. Oh my god.
You're a teacher. You're laying it down.
I am a math teacher. I am definitely not a big fancy word guy. Back to my point. The life skill here is not stretching yourself too thin. So in terms of collecting, not again, if you do this full time, you get a little bit of everything. But as the everyday collector like you and me, not stretching yourself too thin, not trying to carry inventory and have a PC that's football and baseball and basketball and soccer and non-sport. Figure out what you like and stick to that, because I think it could probably be a little overwhelming if you stretch yourself too thin.
Yeah.
Similarly, in maybe you're someone who consumes content or you go to shows, can't do too much. So figure out what's important first. Don't stretch yourself too thin. Don't put too much on your plate. Life skill number 3 for me.
Bam. I like that one because it also ties into one that I was going to say.
Talk to me.
Is knowing your identity. Like in life, that's key. Like knowing who you are or who you want to be. How do you want to present yourself? How much of your identity is tied into your career, your family, your hobbies, and obviously you're the sum of all that. But if I know that my identity is not a fashion dude, then I'm not going to try to dress crazy like James Harden with those jeans. Although he did have the clutch gene.
I respect your fashion. You wore that shirt with the butterflies on it, so
Thanks,
you're
bro.
willing
I
to
mean,
take
listen,
risks.
but I know my lane of fashion. Like I know my identity is sometimes flashy, especially with the shirts. But I just know what I like. Going back to how you referenced the Mount Rushmore of what we looked for in a card, one of our earliest episodes. But that set the foundation for our identity so we can be secure in knowing ourselves, knowing the role that we want to play in our lives, in our card collecting, and can fall back on that. Like, same thing with the NBA playoffs right now. You need to know your identity. Who are your go-to players? Are we a driving team and then shooting? Are we a shooting team first? When the going gets tough, what's our identity? What do we lean back on? And, I think that can be both for cards and in life. Not that you can't change your identity, change who you are, but having that self-awareness so that, reference another episode, you're secure with your collection because it represents what you like.
I was thinking about former episodes that we did that I could kind of relate to there, figuring out your identity, being confident in yourself as a collector and as a person.
Yep.
Right? I think everyone goes through times in life where maybe you're feeling yourself and then you're not, but trying to figure out what works best for you as a collector, as a person, to just be yourself, be confident. I like that. That's deep. That's a deep one.
And speaking of that, we're recording a little bit early because I'm going to visit my mom in Colorado Springs for Mother's Day. So we're actually recording this on Thursday, almost a week early than it's going to drop. So we don't know what's going to happen in the NBA playoffs since then. But I wanted to talk about, because you brought up the confidence, being like undeterred. And we're just coming off Jason Tatum's performance, which who knows, somebody will have won the series by now. We don't know at the time of our recording. But in game 6, which just happened tonight at the time of recording, Jason Tatum was what, 1 for 14, and then laced 3 threes in the fourth quarter at the very end because of his unshakable confidence to continue trying to be the guy and take shots that he knows are going to help his team win. That was way more impressive to me than a performance where he just had it rolling the whole game. And that can be another, lesson here that we want to present as far as like a life skill of just having that belief in yourself, which cards can totally do as far as like all the deals we've made and, buying things at a good price, flipping it into something else, or just having the confidence to go for it and believe in yourself to take that leap, whether it's at work, asking a woman out on a date or whatever. That's another life skill. And living with the results after going for it as well, like being okay with it not working out sometimes.
Wow, there's so many levels to that. I can't even begin to dissect it. Um, I'm just gonna go into my next life skill. How about
Okay. Okay.
that? All right, ready for this one? I'm gonna use a
Yeah.
lot of buzzwords here that
Ooh, clickbait.
that the
Clickbait.
administration at my school would love. You ready for this?
Yes.
Engaging in
Okay.
engaging in academic discourse.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, just being able to talk this game here, sports cards, you're
Mhm.
with someone, you're talking on Instagram, talking at a card show, a trade night, and just being able to hold a conversation about a subject, right? Being extremely knowledgeable about a subject is in itself a life skill. Look,
Yeah.
my wife and I are not big politics. Like, we don't know the ins and outs of politics. When my mother talks about the Democratic Party, like, I have nothing to add to that conversation. I literally cannot engage in that political conversation. I'm sorry, it's just not my subject. But it's important to be able to engage in subjects and have knowledge, in-depth knowledge about a certain subject. So I think being able to speak the language and have conversations about cards on a deep level is a good life skill that you could speak a lot about a certain subject matter.
And it's interesting too, because even if you don't know that much about a topic, you can still be a courteous conversationalist, because you can, when all else fails, use curiosity. At least this is my take. We're just explaining our opinions. It's not a fact or anything. But if you're talking to somebody, let's say I approach somebody, I don't know that much about soccer, but if I'm curious and I ask questions, I take an interest in what they're interested in, whether that's in life with the Democratic Party or in cards. Immediately we have a connection because I'm like deferring to you and I'm showing an interest in what you like. Who doesn't like somebody who shows a genuine interest in what they like? I mean, like what, so great book. It's one of the most well-known books I think out there, but How to Win Friends and Influence People. And one of the things I remember from that book is asking questions and allowing somebody else to guide the conversation and talk about what they like to talk about is one of the easiest ways to get along with somebody, because of that. So that's definitely a life skill that transfers to cards. And of course, like you said, if you both know a decent amount about it, you're going to hit it off.
Listen, when we're dropping old sets and types of cards, it's almost as if we take it for granted that we know so much about sports cards
Uh-huh.
because it's so natural to us. But to be able to retain this much information and then apply it is a skill that, look, I have students who all day stay home and play video games. They're not like engaging their brains into any rigorous activity. So sports cards keeps the juices flowing up there all the time.
Yeah, that's key.
Yeah,
That's key.
major key.
So let me add one here for our life skills. And this is I had like a whole list of mottos, like phrases that we can save for a different episode, but I'll drop one here. Don't be greedy, be grateful.
Wow, that looks like it could be on like a motivational poster.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. So I'll drop you one more phrase right off the bat.
Thank you.
My dad always likes to say, a fast nickel is better than a slow dime. Meaning, if you have a profit there on the table, even though it might be less than what you could get in the future, take it because it's on the table now, and then potentially roll it into something else, because you don't know when that profit might just poof disappear, and then all of a sudden you're left holding the bag. Now, if you believe your card is worth a certain value, I'm not saying sell it for less than what you think. If you like it, you want to hold on to it. But if you're looking to flip, and try to make more money and quickly level up, I was listening to Rob's recent roundtables, which I'm so happy he's doing those again. As we mentioned, Uncle Rob, I should address him by his government name.
Thank you.
Yeah. And he's, of course, the sports card therapist, but he's doing his roundtables again. And I really loved his recent one with the high-end flippers. And our buddy Dave at Extraordinary Cards
One
was
Dave,
on there.
just one Dave.
One Dave, not Dave, who was a different guy. But David was another guy on this. Man, these guys, they could take down a Goliath. But anyway, so this guy's David at Basketball Card Paradise. Apparently, big-time collector.
New York City guy.
There you go. And so he made a great point with this don't be greedy, be grateful mentality. He said he's okay spending $40,000 to make 500.
I did hear that. That was very interesting to me.
And I was like, wow. Well, he's turning over a lot of inventory.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense for him. But I was like, wow, a guy at this level with the humility to have like reasonable prices and be able to turn that over and not be like waiting for a massive win, but stacking up these subtle wins, 5, 10, 15, or your number 22%. And I was like, okay, so because I've been burned a lot of times by being greedy and trying to push for that extra 5, 10%, pricing something really high that I actually want to move. And you lower those prices down, and a lot of times that can make the sales turnover faster and actually be a better situation if you're trying to sell.
Yeah, and $500 profit on $40,000 is 1.25%. You just take the difference of the two prices divided by the original times 100.
Right.
Percent change formula. There's a math lesson for you. That's why they pay me the big bucks. But
he's willing to accept the smaller profit and not hold on for trying to push and potentially be a little more greedy, and then that profit or that offer could be gone.
Yeah, and giving someone else a good deal, obviously, that's how you form those relationships. That was a really good conversation. I actually really appreciate Dave, Extraordinary Cards, who, when you're making a deal with him, and I messaged him yesterday, and I basically told him, I'm like, I really like the way you operate, because when you pick up a card I want, I pretty much always know I have a chance to pick it up as long as I can make the values work, because it doesn't even matter what I have in his eyes.
Yeah, he was saying it's just a numbers game, which is great for you being a numbers guy.
But the life skill I appreciate that he exhibits is transparency. He's going to tell you straight up what he's into the card for. He said that on the podcast.
Yep.
He said that yesterday when I was looking at a card. So being transparent with people, just being real with people is an important life skill that I didn't have written down as a note, but it's something that he does with, telling you what he's into the card for, and just keeping it real.
And if you can get a card like what these guys were talking about, the high-end flippers on Rob's podcast, and they're like, well, if we buy something at 70, 75, 80, 85%, sell it for 90, 95% with that full transparency, and make somebody know, boom, you can get a deal for, 10% under comps. and let's just make this happen quick, not too much beating around the bush, but those personal communication skills that just cut right to the chase and hopefully make the deal happen faster. Or you find out the deal's not going to happen faster, which can also be a benefit because you don't waste your time.
Yeah, that's really well said. Quick, a lot of times we've mentioned the idea of just like if you're going to sell something, don't get greedy. A little profit's good, goes a long way. The last life skill I had, I don't know how in depth we can get into it, but just being a part of a community and a part of something that's bigger than you, right? So imagine you're part of this great hobby that we all share something in common, and it's something you're joining for the first time. In my head, obviously, I'm thinking about my students who did card club or joining this circle of us hobby friends and community that we meet after school for the first time. Okay, well maybe they go to college and there's a club for something else, and normally they wouldn't join this club, but they said, you know what? I gave card club a try. I enjoyed the sense of community. I enjoyed being around people where we shared a common interest. Let me go try this. So the life skill here is being a sense of community and belonging and being around people who share an interest with you.
Yeah, that's great because I think that ties into another life skill as far as learning what's possible for yourself. Like if you never try something, you never try it out, and you never give it a shot, take a risk, you're never going to know what you're capable of. And that feeling of being capable or knowing that you can do something that you weren't sure you could do before going into it, or you acquire a card that you never thought you could get. And now you have that, it sounds corny, I know, but you have that belief now in yourself. Like, wait a minute, if I was able to go from flipping $50, $100 cards, and now I have, like this Larry Bird flawless patch auto, and you're like, oh, I never thought I'd be able to get that. But now, it's like a pat on the back, like, look at me go, like, and it just gives you an inner belief that you can take into other aspects of your life too, I think.
Love that one.
Yeah, I was
Larry
showing it on the screen.
Larry Bird dual patch auto. That's one of my favorite of yours.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Good stuff. So life skills learned through the hobby. I talked about the card that I picked up earlier that I can't talk about, but I
Yep.
didn't. I didn't mention what I traded for it, and I kind of want to get into it because another thing, manifestation. How about that for a life skill?
Ooh,
Which I know
okay.
sounds corny. And by the way, if you somehow could cut up and clip together in a highlight tape every corny motivational quote that you've said today, I think you would have a whole mixtape.
we'll
Anyway.
just we'll just get cousin Oz, the people's mailman, to add a track behind it, a couple DJ, little cuts, and we'll make it cool.
Nice. But anyway, manifested. So a while back we talked about this Roberto Clemente card I picked up.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
I got into it at 450 value, but the card I traded for it was that Stephen Curry pink that I was
Yep.
into for 300. So I knew I was into this for a great value and I love this card. I got to be honest, part of me, as much as I like this, I said I don't mind holding on to this, but I do have this idea that I have a feeling I could trade this for a
Okay.
card for a card that I really want. A particular card, the one I can't talk about. Opportunity came along today and I was able to do just that. So I traded this card and cash, but because of the value I got out of this, the card that I traded for was valued at 750, which was a very fair value. And then when you add together what I'm into this for plus the cash, I'm into the card that I got for 600.
Nice. Okay, so you're into it at 75%.
There you go.
Oh no, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. You're the
dude,
math.
come
You're the
on,
math
come on.
guy.
I knew off the top that was not correct. 80%.
I had to know my identity right there is what I really should have done.
Yeah, dude, come on. So 750, just think 5 groups of 15, 15 times 4, 600. I love math. I
Thanks, bro.
love math and I love cards.
And now, by the way, that's an expensive gift, you know?
Yeah, but it's oh man, I can't wait to talk about it. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. And we got to definitely go into like the conversation between you and this person once they get the gift, and like how that went, the reaction. It's going to be a powerful episode coming soon.
It is. That's all I got as far as pickups. Traded a Brendan Aronson for an autographed Pele shirt. Traded this Roberto Clemente for a grail of mine. You did
That's
well
great.
with your Magic Johnson 1/1 autograph. Good, sneaky good pickups this week between us.
Yeah, we didn't really even expect it.
That's what
And
I'm
then all of a
talking
sudden,
about.
and I got another pickup coming that I'll show off in the next episode, which is of a player who may not be in the playoffs anymore by the time this episode drops. It's okay. It's one of the all-time greats of our generation. So I won't reveal it too much because we want you guys to subscribe, like, comment, review, and stick around for future episodes of Crosstown Cardboard.
Yes, sir, and appreciate the engagement. By the time you hear this, the Knicks series will be over. I have to predict Knicks in 7. I have to.
Okay. Well, by the time, I mean, it could end in 6 by the time this, I mean, we don't know because again,
What are you talking about? Knicks in 7.
I'm just saying, by the time of this, dropping, I hope that's what has happened. I hope that's what has happened. I love your confidence. I believe in our Knicks. I do.
That's all I got for you. Enjoy your trip with your mother, and we will touch base in a couple weeks.
All right, bro. Sounds good. Hopefully, even if you walked away with one thing that resonated with you, I think it's definitely worth it. And we appreciate everybody tuning in and commenting and just going along this fun journey with us.
We love cards. Peace.